Hello friends, welcome to episode 93 of the Shauna Stitches Podcast. I'm Shauna and this is my crafty channel where I talk about all the things that I've been working on lately. You will have noticed I've been posting more vlog style videos. It's just because of what's going on in the month of July, but this is going to be a regular episode where I talk to you about all the things that have been on my hooks and needles and wheel, all that stuff. There are links down below to everywhere you can find me. That includes Instagram and Ravelry as Shauna Stitches, and I do have an email address now, which is shaunastitchespodcast@gmail.com. So if you ever need to reach out and Instagram and Ravelry are not your choice or not accessible to you, then go ahead and use my email. I try and check it at least once a day, but it's not something I'm in the habit of lately, so if it takes me a day or two, then I apologize. Okay, what else? I think that's all the preliminary stuff. Although I will say, in my last episode, I was celebrating my 8-year anniversary, and I picked 8 winners for pattern prizes. And of those 8, 3 have been claimed. So there's 5 people out there who have yet to claim a prize and contact me about their pattern choice. So if you happen to enter that and you haven't watched, or you watched and you just forgot, please get a hold of me because I would love to send you the pattern of your choice. Okay, let's talk about finished objects. I only have one this time, but it's kind of a big one. Check this out. I did another crochet scrap yarn basket. So pretty. I love the pops of yellow in this. Yellow is not like my normal color, but just this much yellow is perfect, and it's so beachy. This project here was my Shark Week project. If you've listened recently, you've heard me talk about Shark Week, and that's a challenge to declare and make a project of your choice within a 1-week time frame. Today, as I'm filming this, it's the very last day of Shark Week. It ends at midnight Eastern time tonight, which is 9 a.m. my time because I'm here on the Oregon coast. And I guess that means technically you could still enter by the time this uploads, but you would have to be watching it right as it comes out and have a very small project. So your chance this year is probably up if you haven't already participated, but I believe there will be a next year because this is the 2nd year in a row. That is put on by the Politically Incorrect Knitters, which includes Ann Pinkava and Deplorable Knitter, and also a bunch of sponsors. I was one of those sponsors this year, which is very exciting. That means everyone that participated will get a sticker with my logo, and I'm excited to get my own sticker. So I crocheted this up to house my scrap yarns. So these are leftovers from different projects, mostly fingering weight, because that's what I knit with mostly. And I thought I was going to have so much extra room. And as you can see, it is quite full. Maybe I should have made it a little bit bigger, or maybe I should be knitting with my scraps a little bit more. I think that's the takeaway from that. But I absolutely love that. It's much better aesthetically pleasing than the bag that I had my scraps in before. So very happy with that. And that's a free pattern. I did find it through Ravelry, which there's a link down below to all my projects that I talk about, plus many, many more. So if you're ever curious about anything, go check that out. But it actually links to a blog or a website where the pattern is. And the pattern could not be more simple, but it's nice just to have it, especially if you're not very versed at crochet. I'd say the trickiest part is doing the handles, and it's not hard at all, but it is nice to have the pattern for reference. Okay, the next thing, speaking of using your scrap yarns, I have this cute little bag here. I won this bag. I won it from, of course I'm forgetting. It's for, the knit along that I won it through was for using your stash. and I'm just blanking on it right now. But the bag is by a different maker. It's Stitched Below. Cute little mushrooms. And what I started in here, I totally should not have been starting another project, but I did. And actually, I'm so thankful because this project taught me a lesson. But let me show you what it is first. Check this out. It's a stack of granny squares. I don't remember how many I've finished off the top of my head. I've only blocked one of them so far. That's this one. Haven't woven in any of the ends. Actually, you know, I'm following, when I looked up, this is the Jethro cardigan, by the way. I should probably just tell you. It's for the Jethro, which combines crochet and knitting into a project. And when I searched for that on YouTube, I found a playlist. I probably couldn't find it now if I wanted to. But it showed you to actually tie knots on your joining yarn and tie the knot over the end of the other one. Supposedly I could just clip these off the way I've done it. I think I will probably go back through and just weave it in once or twice just to make myself feel a little bit better, because you would hate to make something and then just have it fall apart. So I've been wanting to work on this project for such a long time. I've seen people's projects. They're just so beautiful. And I have plenty of yarn, but I didn't want to go stash diving, and I didn't really want to break up any sweaters quantities or, I don't know, find skeins that went together. So I mentioned my crazy stash. So I just started picking stash yarns, and this is for DK weight, so I'm holding everything double. And I'm not kidding, I literally just don't even look. I pull out a skein, and whatever it is, I crochet it in, unless, oh, let's see. It's at the very bottom of here. Can I find it? Yes. This bag here, which, let's see, used to have a fitted sheet in it. This bag here has all the yarns that I did not want to use. So as I pull one out, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, here's a Christmas yarn. Lots of greens and reds, green, yeah, red and yellow, more red. There's a trend there. This really bright orange. I just felt like it didn't go. But I have pulled, so once I pull out a yarn and I use it, I put it in a separate container so that my squares don't really duplicate any of my colors until I completely run out, and then I'll start back over. But that being said, if I have more than one ball, little leftover of that color, then I will reuse it before I run out, if that makes sense. So I just started picking colors and crocheting, and this project is so fun. Also, I am pleasantly surprised. Some of my squares are not the cutest. Like this one, probably not my favorite, but others, just picking random, they came out so good. And like, I couldn't have put those colors together if I would have tried, and they wouldn't have looked that good, you know? I think that one's pretty. I'm telling you, there's some even better. And like, it was weird. As the choices got slimmer and slimmer, I felt like they started looking better. But I feel like once these are all joined into a cardigan, it's just going to look really cool. So what else is fun about this? You know, you have the cozy memories blankets, and you're thinking back to projects that you made, but this is like that, but quicker, because you're using 5 colors per square. And I had a lot of fun with that. Like this one turned out to be mostly purples, and I love it. Purple's not like my color by any means, but they're just so fun. So this project, really, I had a huge revelation while I was making this. I had made a few squares, and I decided to come in and attempt to look at my yarn to figure out what I might use for the background color. And I haven't decided yet. I should have pulled a skein or two, but I'll probably in a little bit pull out some options and take some photos and let people weigh in on what they think might be best. Because color choice is not always my strong suit. Obviously, with all these wild colors, it'll have to be something fairly neutral, I think. But anyway, what this taught me, I was looking through my stash, and I have spent so much time researching yarns for specific projects. So my stash, especially sweater quantities, is all mostly stuff that I have said, I want to knit this sweater, and this is the yarn I want to knit it in. And it's stored away with pages that say, this yarn is for this sweater. Some of it's in my Ravelry queue the same way, where I have earmarked. See, I like this one too. I've earmarked certain yarns for certain projects, and I just started thinking, some of these yarns have been in my stash for sure at least 5 years, some of them longer, maybe some a little bit less. But if I haven't knit the project that I planned to use that yarn for yet, I would say there's a good chance I'm not going to knit that project, and then that yarn's just going to sit there, because I had the thought process for this, oh, I should look online, I should buy something. And you know what? I have no doubt I have something in my stash that's going to work. That was the last square, by the way. So what this really kind of made me realize, oh, I had more, oh, I know why. It's like, I had more squares in here. I was trying out the different hook sizes. This was using the recommended hook size, and it turned out way too small. Wait, is this even 5? No, it's only 4. But yeah, so I was trying to figure out what size to use. I need to not mix those up with the other ones. Anyway, back to stash. So I realized that has kind of led to part of my stash accumulation issue, is that I get very attached to this yarn has to be this project, but I don't want to knit that project right now because this new shiny one came out. So I think I'm going to be a lot more open about going into my stash to knit the thing that I want to knit right now with whatever yarn. And if it comes back to I want to knit this other thing eventually, I can either find something in stash or I can get something new then, but only if I'm going to cast it on. That being said, I have a lot of sweaters quantities and single skeins, so I feel like it really opens up my stash to a lot of possibilities. I'm still trying to mostly work through old whips. If you saw my last episode, I've really been focusing on sock whips until this month. This month is crazy. I've had Shark Week, of course, my Desert Vista Dyeworks knit along, Tour De Fleece, and the Stephen West Mystery Sock Knit Along. So kind of 4 events all happening at the same time, and it's a lot. And I know I don't have to participate in all of them, but I really want to, so it's just a lot. So all that to say, I am not focusing on whips a whole lot right now. And the Jethro doesn't even fall in there anywhere. I don't know. I just couldn't resist any longer. All right. So speaking of surprise sock along, if you have not watched my video all about this project, let's just say I have had a lot of ups and downs. This is being housed in my cute little sock project bag by Little Robin Cottage. And if you've not heard of Little Robin Cottage, she's on Etsy and she's from Oregon. When I saw this, I just couldn't resist. I like to support my Oregon makers when I can. I shouldn't have frogged part of what I'm going to show you, but this was my first cast on. And on the other sock, which I've already partially frogged, I got just a little bit further than this. I was almost done to where I should have been doing a I-cord bind off, and there was no way it was going to fit around my leg, like not even close. I knit the pattern on a 2.25 millimeter needle, which is a US 1, and Stephen West even went down to a size 0 needle. So I felt pretty confident. I knit 90% of my socks on a 2.25. Every now and then, if something has cables or another stitch pattern that might make it a little more snug, I will go up to a 2.5, but that's it. I really don't use anything. I guess I've used a 2.75 on colorwork before, but very rarely. And I thought 2.25 would be fine. That's what the pattern called for. It did have a gauge listed, but I'll be honest, I never get actual sock gauge. Mine's always much tighter and my socks always fit. I generally knit a 64 stitch sock on a 2.25. I have pretty narrow feet and it works. But it did not work for this. So I had literally gotten both socks to almost done. These are the legs, by the way. If you've never seen a sock construction like this before, me neither. You cast on at the start with a provisional cast on. You do some feather and fan type lace. Then there are some garter stitch chevrons, followed by what's called wavy welts, which still has more feather and fan in there. And then it was more chevron, so it repeated this at the end. And I had to completely start over. It hurt. It hurt a lot. But I haven't woven in ends. This is my first sock leg. There's my wavy welts and this fun 2-color I-cord bind off. That's how the tube gets joined together, or I guess the flat thing. It's not a tube until you join it together. But I went up to a 2.75 millimeter, and I did take a photo of the 2 socks at the exact same point, same amount of repeats, same stitches, same everything. One on the 2.25 and one on the 2.75, and it was alarming how different the sizes were. Could not believe it. So in the end, I did end up knitting 3 extra chevrons here, but everything else is exactly to the size 2 in the pattern, which should be the size that fits me. It's the same size that I knit on the mystery knit along last year, size 2. So I finished one and I have started the second one. So you see, I've done section 1 is the lace, and I've started section 2, which is the chevrons. This is the sock that I was much further along on, but I'm actually frogging it to knit this one. So this gray is Knit Picks Stroll in Dove Heather, and I have 3 little minis that I'm using. These are all dyed by Tammy, the owner of Candy Skein, my local yarn store, and they don't have names. They came as 20-gram minis. So I have a neon pink, neon yellow, and neon orange. I think those are looking really good. Just for a little comparison, you can see the width difference there. So I get more width, which will be a longer leg, and certainly a lot more stretch and more, I guess what ends up being the circumference. Yes, that sounds right. So after having finished the first cuff that actually fit, I am not rushing too much to finish that second one. Like I said, I have a lot of other things going on, but I would like to get it done before Tuesday. I just don't think it's really going to happen. Tuesday's when the next clue comes out. All right. I did miss something. I was like, I should have been talking about my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks by now. Yes, they were the first thing on the list, and I skipped right past it. This is my July Desert Vista Dyeworks sock. I am participating in the 10th and final year of Season of Desert Vista Dyeworks Knit Along, where you knit 1 skein a month, at least half the skein into a project. Usually socks or fingerless mitts, a hat, something like that. Mine are almost all socks. This year I am using the Blueberry Waffles pattern, which is that ribbed or broken ribbed pattern that you see there, kind of a waffle stitch. It's a free pattern, by the way. And I finished the first one. Luckily, I finished the first one before the mystery sock came out. I have just cast on the second one, so this needs some work. But luckily, I have 2 weeks, but I cannot forget about it because if I don't finish all 12 months in a row, I don't get the special skein that she only dyes up for those people who finished. So I definitely want to do that. Okay, let's see. I have one more work in progress to show you this week, and it's going to look familiar. This. I know you might be thinking, are you making another scrap yarn basket? No, I'm not. I have decided to use the scrap yarn basket pattern. So this is exactly how you would start out doing the bottom. I'm using the exact same yarns, which happen to be Lion Brand Pound of Love in pastel green and Lion Brand Ice Cream Big Scoop in blueberry. Same thing, the Ice Cream Big Scoop in lemon swirl. This is where my little pops of yellow come from. So glad I picked that color. And then the last one, also the Ice Cream Big Scoop in mint. So I'm holding all of these together at the same time. The top 3 are all DK weight. The bottom one says it's technically a worsted, but when I hold them together, they look awfully close. And you hold all 4 strands together at the same time. I'm using it says MN 9mm hook. Hopefully you can see that. I can't tell what you can see. That's what it calls for in the pattern. And I've decided to make round placemats for my dinner table. So all these are stash yarns. I'm so excited to be using some of my acrylic stash. Almost all of it I've had for over 9 years because I used acrylic a lot when I crocheted. For some reason, I feel like it's better for crochet than it is for knitting. And for a placemat, it'll be perfect. It's super washable. It shouldn't really shrink or anything. And, you know, they're pretty, but if they get stained, I don't care. It's just to protect my table. So this is working up really fast. I looked online and it says a round placemat should be anywhere between 13 and 15 inches. The one thing I'm going to do that's different than the pattern, my yarn's hung up here, is I'm going to do a crab stitch around the outside, I think. Oops, did I look? I totally lost my yarn. There it is. Lost one of the loops. Oh no. My crochet stitch marker fell out, but it's okay. I know where it goes. I didn't make it far. So, yep, this is the first one. I'm going to figure out how many rounds I need to do and make several. I probably will not have enough of these colors to make a whole set, but if I get 2 out of this color, I can do 2 out of another color combination and use up some of my stash in a very usable project, which I really like. It's nice to find a purpose for your stash, something that it will work in. That is it for all the whips that I've been working on, and like it feels like a lot, but not a lot. I don't know. The other thing I've been working on is spinning. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this or not. This is my first finished skein of Tour De Fleece. I don't think you have seen it. If you have, maybe in fiber form. So this is a blend of fiber. I blended up myself. The white that you see in there it's from my very first fleece that I ever bought off of Etsy. Her name is Patsy, and she's a BFL Merino cross. So I washed that fleece up. I carded some of it and made some bats, and then I combined bats with a polyamide nylon blend. That's the pops of color that you see. I blended that all together on my blending board. and made these little fiber nests, and then I spun a 3-ply. I was hoping that this would be socks, and I think it will be. I'm just still really a bit confused by some spinning things. For example, grist. Grist is the density or how much fiber's in your yarn compared to the yardage, and the calculation tells you how many yards per pound you would get if you spun a whole pound of it. And I don't know the number right off the top of my head, but this is supposed to be a DK or worsted weight, and I don't know how that's even possible. I guess probably because I'm not a machine, but let's see. Let's just hold this up against some fingering weight. So the all pink strand is fingering weight. And obviously you can see the difference. This is more difficult than it should be. Let's just get 2 strands here. There we go. So those look pretty close. I could see the one I spun maybe being a sport weight or a heavy fingering, but I definitely don't think it's DK or worsted. I don't know. I got under 300 yards, like 270, something like that. So I think I would use a contrast teal cuff and toe, maybe even this pink. I think that could work. But yeah, so I blended it as a 75-25. The wool portion was 75% and that polyamide nylon was 25. So it should be a good sock yarn blend. I've been prepping more of the fleece, and I'm thinking I would just love to do a sweater in this. That's a very far off project because it's a lot of work. The other spin I just completed yesterday. It's still wet, which is why I have it hanging up here. This is a 2-ply Cheviot in pinks and grays. There's a little bit of green in here. And I think it just came out really nice. I liked how it looked pretty well before washing, but after washing, it just really looks nice. Again, I think this looks like a fingering weight to me. Grist tells me it's a sport weight, but I have no plan for this. I actually, in the back of my head, was hoping I would have enough for a Musselburgh hat, and I thought for sure getting a 2-ply, it would be enough, but I only have 370 or so yards. So I don't think it would be quite enough. I like to have over 400 for sure. So that's that. If you have any pattern suggestions, I'd be curious to know. The other part of the fiber, so I could have had more yardage. I started initially spinning it as a long draw. This is the long draw portion. I decided it was not working the way I wanted it to work. So I have just this little bit here. So if I still had this in there, there'd be slightly more, but it's only about 10 grams. It wouldn't have made that big of a difference. Okay. I think that is all of the crafty stuff. It's been a lot. I'm so curious to know, what are you working on as you're watching, and are you planning any projects in the back of your head? Because I swear I'm always planning several. They don't always happen, but I'm thinking about them. As far as life stuff goes, I spent a week being quite sick. I got sick on July the 3rd. Ended up having to call out sick for the very first time on the 4th of July, which it's our busiest day of the year. And I felt not only physically sick, but I felt so bad that I couldn't be there. In retrospect, it's a good thing I did not even try to work it. I didn't get a bunch of other people sick, but also I think I might have passed out or something. Like, I was not doing good. And I was gone from work for a whole week, and that just never happens. But I'm feeling much better now, thank goodness. Still a little bit tired, a little bit of my stomach's not quite normal yet, but much, much better than it was. that's the big life stuff, other than just trying to keep up with all of the alongs that I'm doing. As I mentioned earlier, I am doing vlog style videos for both the mystery sock, surprise sock along. It's not a mystery, but it is a mystery, and the Tour De Fleece. So I'm putting those videos out weekly, and it's a little bit more of a deep dive into whatever those projects focus around. Oh, I did forget to show you something spinning wise. Here I am on life stuff, and I still have spinning right in front of me. My next spin, that's what I was going to show you. This here is some two-tone pink alpaca. I've never spun alpaca before, so I'm actually going to start spinning this today. Technically, it's a Tour De Fleece challenge day, so spinning something you've never spun before is a bit of a challenge, but I'm going to do a combo spin 3-ply, and I'm so excited. The second one is this braid from Greenwood Fiber, and it does have a color. It's called Diamond. Kind of interesting, not my normal colors, but I think with the white in there, it's really going to wash out the color. It's going to be really pretty. And the final ply, because this will be a 3-ply, so each braid will get spun to its own bobbin and then plied together. This is the third one. I believe this is Targhee, but I can't be 100% sure, and I didn't tell you what this one was. This is Polworth. So we have 3 complete different breeds, and this one isn't even a sheep. So we have alpaca, Polworth, and maybe Targhee. Yeah, I think that's going to look really interesting if nothing else, but I think it's going to go good. And okay, now I really am done with spinning and crafts. The only other really thing that I have to talk to you about is what I've been reading. I just hit my 200-day streak reading on my Kindle, and that is such a motivating little countdown counter. I don't know what you want to call it, but they have reading challenges on the Kindle, and I'm very much enjoying that. I'm also really enjoying being back into reading. I would say 200 days in, I'm officially back into it. One book that I finished came from Libby. It was one of the available right now Libby books, and if you don't know, that is a program that usually hooks up through your local library. So that's the one that my library uses, and I just go on there if I need a book and see what's available now, and I think usually it sorts it by either the highest rated or something along those lines. So this book was pretty far up there, and I gave it 3 stars. It was called Don't Believe It by Charlie Donlia, and the book was pretty good until the end. The end was terrible. Hated it. It did not wrap it up. It did not answer, I guess it kind of answered questions. Anyway, I don't recommend. That being said, I guess it wasn't terrible because I did give it 3 stars, but just very disappointing to end a book like that. That's all I'll say about that. The one I'm currently reading was recommended to me. I can't remember if it was here on YouTube or if it was on Instagram, but I had posted that I finished all the Outlander series books and wasn't sure what to read next. So this person recommended 2 books. I immediately put myself on the wait list because they were not available now. And the one that came up first is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And I'm about 65% through the book now. I really like it. It's definitely not my normal type of read. Some of the chapters are written from the point of view of an octopus, but it's fun. I really enjoy it. There's definitely some, I won't say dark subject matter, but there's definitely some things going on and you think you kind of know, but they haven't said it yet. They haven't come out and completely said it, but anyway, enjoying that very much, and I will give you an update once I'm finished to whether or not I would recommend it. So far, so good, though. I thought I had something else to say. life stuff-ish, but now I can't remember, so I guess we're going to wrap it up. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and please do leave me a comment down below. I love hearing everything you have to tell me, all the things you're working on. If you have a question, just whatever comment you feel like leaving me, I would be so grateful, and it's fun to have those conversations back and forth. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.